Overthinking simply means excessive activity of the mind. When the mind is filled with too many thoughts, when thoughts start swarming in your mind, just like the way flies do in your ears, and you have that buzzing, irritating buzzing in your ears, that is overthinking, right? So thoughts sometimes behave like flies, okay? And the way flies don't let you rest or sleep, even your thoughts don't let you sleep. And most of you are familiar with this overthinking, okay? Thinking sometimes, look, your mind is round the clock thinking. That for sure you know, right? But sometimes this thinking becomes too much, severe. It is just like a fit, okay? Just like a fit, you have hundreds of thoughts coming one after the other, and there is a kind of clash in your mind, stuffed full, this head is stuffed full of thoughts. That is called overthinking. Okay, now what causes overthinking? Just try to recall any moment of overthinking in your life. One thing you would notice, that at that moment you were overexcited about one thing or the other. You were in extreme, you were living in extremes. Either you were extremely happy or you were extremely unhappy. Okay, so either condition must have existed to create this overthinking in your life. Say for example, you won a lottery and you were going to encash it the day after, right? So the whole night your mind would have been filled with and countless thoughts about what you would be doing with your money, okay? Or suppose you were going to meet somebody and you were so excited that you couldn't sleep, and throughout the night you were simply planning and dreaming what would you do when you met the person, right? And in another case, when you were extremely unhappy, say when somebody hurt you, said something that you did not like, right? In that case also, you were in that fit of overthinking, okay? You were planning how to settle a score with that person, how to teach him a lesson, okay? Doesn't it happen with all of us that if somebody says something hurtful to us, we start feeling and we call him arrogant and haughty, and we resolve to teach him a lesson, okay? That is to say, if you are extremely happy or you are extremely unhappy, in either condition you are prone to overthinking, okay? Now, taking this point further, we can say that when we are not living in extremes, when we are composed, when we are following midway, when we are balanced, thoughts are less, okay? So one cure to overthinking is to live life in a balanced way, to avoid extremes in life. But how to avoid these extremes? If there is a great news, you are bound to be happy. On the other hand, if something disheartening, something hurtful has happened, then you are bound to be unhappy and extremely, okay? Your reaction is going to be in proportion to that particular event, okay? So the cure is simple: to remain always conscious. Whenever too much happiness comes, be conscious. Whenever too much unhappiness comes, be conscious, okay? And in that consciousness, you will always remain calm and composed. And when you are calm, there are lesser and lesser waves of thinking on your surface, and you are peaceful, relaxed, cool. And when you are cool, you are free from overthinking. This is one thing to be learned. Let us learn the difference between conscious thinking and compulsive thinking. Okay, you see, thinking is very important for survival and for well-being also. Say, for example, you have to visit a place. You need to think about it. Okay, you are planning your summer vacation, so you need to think which place to go, whom to take along, which travel agency to contact. Okay, you have to plan out all these things, and for that you need to use your power of thinking. Okay, but of course there are such moments in your life when you need to think. Suppose there is some urgency in your life, you have to arrange money immediately. You need to think about it, okay, whom to contact. But there are moments when you don't have to think about anything at all, when you can simply be. But even in those moments, your mind just can't relax, isn't it? It goes on thinking and thinking and thinking. That thinking is called compulsive thinking. Okay, it's thinking that you cannot control. Right? You need to be a conscious thinker. That is to say, you need to use your power of thinking very consciously. And you must do it in such a way that you should be able to switch off that thinking process whenever it is not needed. Okay? But ask yourself this question. Can you really switch off thinking? Can you turn it off? For majority of the people, it is impossible. It is simply impossible. They cannot simply relax or switch off this thinking process even for a minute. Why? Because thinking has become compulsive. Got it? So you need to differentiate between compulsive thinking and conscious thinking. I repeat, conscious thinking simply means that you are thinking because you need to think, and you are not thinking because it is not needed. And compulsive thinking simply means that your mind is compelling you to think. You are just a puppet. You are just a puppet. You can't help it. Right? So, compulsive thinking, you see, what is the cure to compulsive thinking? If you can just understand one simple thing. Whensoever you think, right? Whensoever you think, just be conscious that you are thinking. Okay? Just be conscious of the process of thinking. Be a witness to thinking that yes, I am thinking. This particular thought is happening within me. Okay? Slowly and slowly you will realize that there is a distance growing between you and thinking. Right? A distance is growing between you and thinking. Clear? And when this distance grows, you learn a very fundamental truth about life, that you can exist without thinking. Most of us, when we don't think, we feel that we don't exist. You know, a frightening absence starts, haunting us. Okay, to escape from this frightening absence, we take recourse to thinking. Right? But this absence is not negative. Okay? You can enjoy this absence. It is so blissful, I tell you. Right? But this is possible only when you see gaps. Okay? Gaps. Okay, this moment you're thinking because you need to. Okay, the work is done. You don't have to think about it. Okay, work is done. Thinking is no more needed. When the moment you feel that thinking is no more needed, all of a sudden mind stops. As if you have switched off the thinking switch. Okay? And in that moment, you feel that gap. You can immensely enjoy this gap. Okay? But this is possible only when you make a conscious effort. Okay? When you don't let thinking to happen just anyway. Okay? When you realize that thinking is not a compulsive process, it is a very important process and it has to be utilized properly. Okay, compulsion is something like you have left a tap on, water tap on, okay, and the whole water is running out when the tank is getting empty. And this is what happens with us also. Compulsive thinking is just like that. You have turned the energy tap on. Okay, you have left energy tap on, and the energy is flowing out. Okay, and this is the reason overthinking makes you feel very tired. You feel spent, squeezed, very heavy on your head, or even when you walk, you feel some heavy load has been put on your head. Why? Because the tap was on and the whole energy, it simply drained away. You see this difference? But if you use the water only when you need it, you will have plenty of water available all the time. Just like that, compulsive thinking simply means letting your energy drain away. Okay? And conscious thinking simply means you can turn the tap on when you need it, and when you can turn it off when you don't need it. So try this method. Obviously, if you are in compulsive thinking mode, all of a sudden you cannot jump into the conscious thinking mode. It needs time and it needs sincere, devoted efforts. So slowly and slowly, when you become a witness to your thinking, when you think consciously, all of a sudden you start feeling, you have perfect idea that, okay, now I need to stop thinking because it is no more needed, right? And that conscious thinking will fill you with lot of freshness. It is obvious. It is simply obvious because you have conserved your energy, right? And this is one reason why meditators sometimes look so energetic, so fresh, because they are conscious thinkers. Okay, so try this method, and this conscious thinking is a very effective cure to overthinking also. Thank you.